Is anything happening?
Well,
Braves right now?
it doesn't matter because the show's, people could listen to the show in 2 weeks. So I prefer not to
Mm.
talk about timely events. Though, I will say that I was watching the beginning of the Braves game. This is game 2, just so someone can place this if they actually care, of the NLCS. You know what that stands for, Autumn? She doesn't. Ah! What an idiot.
NLCS.
Doesn't matter. National League
I
Championship
want to.
Series.
Come on. I wanted a chance.
Anyway, I was watching the game, and as I'm watching the game, they lose. And then I turn off the game to get ready to record this, and now apparently it's tied 2-2. So I am bad luck.
Yeah. And anytime we talk about AMC stock, things don't go well.
What are you talking about?
When you tell me that AMC is doing well, I start to go look, and then it starts going down.
Well, you're the bad luck for AMC then. Not
No,
me.
because I'm not No. But why are you turning this around? Every time we talk about it, you say, now it's going down because you've looked at it.
No, I just say, look at this. It's doing well. And then you look and it goes down.
I never took it that way. Because I look all the time and it doesn't go down or up. It just does whatever it's doing.
Well, you have to hold out because AMC stock is going to go to $1 million a share. The DD says so.
DD.
The due diligence.
Oh.
Yeah, right. I mean, whatever. Call me a paper-handed little shill, bitch. I know it's not going to $1 million. It's never going to go to $1 million.
The only, and it never will, and the only way that we'll ever make money is to stay in it and then win some sort of like class action lawsuit against like whatever.
It does seem like that's maybe the way this is going to play out.
Yeah.
I know that there are some numbers that show that it could go to $1 million in like a vacuum, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to work that way.
It would be at the detriment to so many institutions, right? It'd be like foundational institutions.
Oh, yeah.
Would
I mean,
collapse.
if it went to $1 million a share, the number of outstanding shares, let's
Right.
just say the actual shares that are known, because there are people who think there are a bunch of synthetics out there, and through naked short selling. But just the known ones would be like more than the whole market is worth, or something like that, or the economy of the United States. It's some ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
If it gets to $100 a share, a bunch of people are going to sell because they've been waiting for a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
it's
will
going
sell.
to. I don't know if it's going to get to 100. Can you hear this bubbling? Is this picking up?
I didn't hear any bubbling.
My dishwasher is on. It's currently saying "ho." It's flashing "ho" at me.
Ho.
It does "ho,"
Oh.
which apparently is an error code. Well, it's not an error code, but it says we're pausing washing because the water temperature is not hot enough.
Oh, wow.
So
Is it supposed to be hold?
I don't know what it stands for, but
Yeah.
it's it takes the water from the faucet, but that's not getting hot enough, so it's got its own internal heater and it's heating it up more.
Oh, wow. That's kind of a nice dishwasher.
I think it's pretty common on dishwashers.
Really? I've never heard of a dishwasher saying the water's not hot enough, so I'm going to heat it up myself.
I know that you're anti-dishwasher. We've talked about this before.
I've been using it more and more.
Your aversion. Adversion.
Adversion. Especially
That's
like
the
I
new-
make Sunday dinners.
It's the new advertising style.
Adversion.
Yeah, we make it so it's backwards. It's reverse psychology. It's telling you you're an idiot. It's an advertisement.
Adversion.
Advertisement.
I make Sunday dinners for my parents, and usually when they come, I throw everything in the dishwasher.
Good. Uses less water, as has been established.
We'll see.
We'll see. It's been proven.
Nah.
It is absolutely
People
proven.
who don't know how to wash their dishes.
If you're filling your sink with just a little bit of water and then using that filth water to wash your dish, you're not getting clean dishes. That's the only way, because
All right.
the average faucet uses 2 gallons a minute when it's running wide
Yeah,
open.
you're not supposed to. It's not supposed to be one sink. It's supposed to be 2 sinks, and it's supposed to be one is filled with the soapy water and one is filled with clean water.
You don't have 2 sinks.
I don't.
So So
I try and not have. That's if your water is on full blast. It uses 2 gallons.
So
a
you
minute
use
or
it
whatever.
half blast, and it's using a gallon
Yeah.
a minute. It's
Nah,
still
it's
the
less than
average
that.
dishwasher
Nah, it's less
uses
than that.
only a few gallons. I know that you don't like dishwashers because it reminds you of things.
What?
It was the representation of a relationship gone awry.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
It's just that I am by myself for half the time, and it feels strange to be, using a glass and then throwing it in the dishwasher. That doesn't make sense to me. So I just
Well,
rinse it out, use a little sponge, put it over there, or I let things collect. Like if I make a dinner and then I clean that up, so I don't throw everything in. And then what am I throwing in? I'm not throwing in my pan because it's got the nonstick coating, so you're not supposed to wash that in the dishwasher.
that's
So
I mean that's fair. If you have one dish, then I don't think you should run the dishwasher. But
well, it'd be like my coffee cup from the morning. It'd be like my afternoon coffee from the afternoon. It would be like a couple of knives or spoons or whatever. So it's like
I think
a
there's
handful
some
of things.
I think there's some PTSD.
There's not.
The dishwasher was the battlefield.
No, it's just a fun
A lack
representation that a lot of people, I think, identify with.
A lack
I could change
of-
it to something else. It could be like the trash.
Well, that was part of it too. I remember hearing stories about that.
Yeah,
And the litter box.
and the litter box.
These were the battlefields instead of expression.
I felt like the only 2 things I asked for, because I wasn't asking for anything except I wasn't even asking anything for myself. So it's not like his fault, but it's also mine. It's also his a little bit, but it's also mine too. But, anyway, so I felt like without expressing any of this or even realizing it myself, I only asked him to do 2 things. Please be in charge of the litter box and the trash. And it would happen for a very small amount of time. And then it would turn into me telling him to, and then I would try and justify it and say like, well, I guess his like threshold for when something needs to be done is later than mine. And I have to be okay with that.
excuse
if I
making.
wanna-
Very simple things. Very simple ask.
What'd you say?
As Ed said, it was a very simple ask. It couldn't be executed. How do you feel when, well, I hesitate to talk about the other radio show that you're a part of now, the Von Hessler Doctrine, because last time we did that, someone became very offended. It really hurt their feelings. The fact that
Who?
we called the show
on
a
yeah.
radio zoo, and someone became very offended. And
Yeah. That was a personal thing from him. He said that there were a lot of people around him that he felt were very entitled. And I think what he was actually expressing was disappointment in us.
why is there disappointment to say that the show is exactly what it is, which is a zoo?
Because it wasn't logical. It was something that he felt. Do you know what I mean? Like it's something else that he was already feeling, and we embodied that, and it bothered him.
Well,
So,
I
all right.
feel no need to go after this person. I appreciate
No.
that they listen to our podcast and they're able to hear us call the Von Hessler Doctrine a zoo. But it was a very strange reaction to me because it did seem very personal, as if that's my favorite radio show and you're shitting on it, so therefore you're shitting on me. It's like, it's not what's happening.
I know, but if you think about it, like that kind of makes sense when someone is feeling some kind of way. You overreact about something else because the real thing is something else.
Like a dishwasher
Exactly.
or the kitty box.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think it was funny. It's like, without that show, nobody would know who you are. It's like, yeah, without a radio show, nobody would know who Tim was or Eric. Like, that's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
It's a very strange thing to say.
Well, it's something
like
that
it's
Eric
true.
says, so it's like something that Eric uses against us, and in a funny way, but a little bit of
As if I
venom,
care.
like a little truth in it.
As if I care if people know who I am. That's not why I got into radio, to be known. I just wanted
Yeah.
to put on a good show and hopefully have people forget about their shitty lives for even a second. It wasn't about people knowing me. I mean,
I know. I never felt like, oh, I hope people will know me.
except for when we were going to the 10 high.
Shut the fuck up. That story is full of hyperbole.
Can I see your ID? Yes. Autumn. Yes, I am Autumn. I'm Autumn from
Because
the
of
Von Hessler
Nick,
Doctrine.
I would never have said that if it was anywhere else. It was just because Nick works there, and so I thought that he knew us from the show. God, it's not out of the. That doesn't speak to me.
It's not out of the
being
realm.
like,
You just were
No.
very excited. Like, you lit up. You were
yeah,
very...
because it was. Yes.
And that's why I think it's funny, is because you got bubbly and your face brightened. You're like, this
Yeah.
person knows who I am. And they said 500 Days of Summer. That girl who has
Oh,
a
it
scene
wasn't
for
because he knew who I
3 minutes.
was. It was because, well, I mean, it was both. It was like, oh, I'm excited that you might know me from the show that Nick is on. We have a connection with Nick.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
I understand. Anyway, what was I saying before that? What led to that?
Something about the show. You were saying the other show.
Oh, people wouldn't know who we are, and we didn't get into it for that. Also, I don't feel entitled. This is
No, it
this
wasn't
is
that.
one.
You were
This
ask-
is
we
this
were
is.
talking about the dishwasher and the relationship stuff, and
I
then
know,
you were
but-
bringing up the other show.
And then I was saying we shouldn't talk about the show, but I would like to say that this is one thing that really bothers me. When people who listen to me and they throw that out, entitled. I don't act entitled. I complain about things, but I don't claim that they should be any different for me. I just say this is the way this is and this annoys me, but I also don't feel as though anyone or anything owes me a thing. Or
Sometimes when people express things like that, it feels it almost like threatens someone else, and so they have to, or there's something about it that makes them react to what you're saying as if it's attacking them, and there's nothing you can do about that.
yeah, because I just call out general patterns of thinking that are real, that most people experience, and for whatever reason that throws them off. But as far as entitled goes, you can answer honestly. Maybe I am entitled, but I feel as though I'm one of the least entitled people. I'm
you have that-
many things, but
You have that thing where it's like I'm extremely important and I am nothing, because you want everyone to act a certain way and you feel like you know that certain way and you have the answer to what that certain way is, which sort of puts you in the line of you know everything and you are better than because you know those things.
well, hold on. This is what you're saying. Better than.
Mm-hmm.
I never say that.
You do feel like
I
you're
just
better
know
than.
things. I just know things.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just aware.
Yeah, but some of those things you quote know are sometimes opinions or preferences.
Nah. I think they're pretty locked in as rules.
No.
Anyway, so getting back to what we were talking about, now that we're talking about the show and then we were going back, sometimes I hear, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want, but when I hear it brought up on the radio show that, you left your marriage and there's zero understanding as to why, it's like, that was a very nice person, as if that's a reason to stick around if it's something's not working for you. But I wonder if that bothers you, hearing that. Or when people claim it.
No, what it does is it's actually just an ingredient in the whole stew of not really being able to trust that show with my honest thoughts and actions. I can give them little bits of things that are that I feel comfortable playing around with, but if I tell them something off the air and they want to use it, they're going to, which is fine. They need to make a show, but I don't necessarily feel like I can trust them on air to treat it in a caring way. You know what I mean? They're going to use it, which I also understand. I did that, with my relationship with Travis, and he had to tell me to cut it out because it was bothering him. So, and I didn't understand it then. I was like, listen, this is just a part of my life. You just have to be okay with it. And he didn't have to be okay with it.
Yeah, I don't.
So anyway,
I don't agree with that necessarily, and it sounds like you have come around on it. But I feel as though if you want to talk about your life in any kind of open way, that is fair game. It's your choice. But dragging someone else into it, even if they're a part of your life, I feel as though having their blessing to do so is something that I guess you should obtain before you.
Well, see, I felt like I was a comedian, and that, I'm going to talk about my life on stage. And so you just have to be okay with that. And if you're not, then you either need to get okay with it or not. I don't know. But I know. What does that mean? Or what? So, but like I said, that was me probably just not, I don't know, not connecting with him like I should have,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
No, when they talk about, me leaving Travis, I know like I said, the other show isn't this show. Do you mean? And sometimes I forget about that. And I think that I can be as open as I am with you as I am on that show. And I have to remember that it's a uh, different rules,
Well, part of the
you know?
problem is, things are presented as if we're being open and people feel as though they do know who we are. They only know a small sliver of that. And granted, there are things that are put out there that are at times, I guess, vulnerable and exposing, and that furthers this idea that people know who we are. But I think that's why it bothers me sometimes when certain words like entitled are thrown out. Yes, I know that I think that I'm better than most people sometimes. It doesn't always feel
So it
that
makes
way.
sense that someone might interpret you as
Yeah, but
that.
but it's not that. Yes, but this is the way, they've got limited information that they can take and form opinions and whatever within the context of the show. That's who I guess
Well,
I
and then
am.
Eric exploits that. And like I said, I'm not judging that. He's doing what he feels he has to do to make a show happen, to fill 3 hours a day, to not constantly rant about politics. You know what I mean? So I
But
get it.
but
He has to paint us in a certain way.
yes, but being a person and wanting
Mm.
people to
Yeah. Understand
understand
you.
who you are,
Yeah.
I whenever I hear them bring up, she had a very good marriage, she left it, nicest guy you'll ever meet. What the fuck's wrong with her? That's the way it's pretty. That's presented, and that's the way that I
Yeah.
take it. And I wonder if it
I can
bothers you.
understand that. I can understand that point of view.
I wouldn't make an excuse for that one. I'd be like, hey, cut that one out. If I were you, like that's why I ask. Maybe you
Hmm.
don't have that's. I wasn't sure if you had a problem with it or not.
No, because I know. You know what I mean? I capital KNOW. No, I know.
But there are
Like
other
I know
people
what
listening.
happened. I know what's going on. If he what like the way that the entitled thing bothers you, that bothers me if it were taken online and someone started like talking shit online about me, saying like I think it has happened before, but like in little comments like during the live stream or something, people will say something shitty, but I mean that's fine. But because that feels trolly. But if someone was on like 2 + 2 = 4 and was talking shit about me without them knowing what you know who I am and really understanding what went on, then it would bother me more. And then I might have to tell Eric like, hey, we need to cut this out. We got to stop doing that.
Obviously, some of it comes with the territory. If we're going to do a show, then you open yourself up, and people are free to speak as they wish.
And I'm doing
But
interesting things. Listen, everybody else like, Eric doesn't go out. Tim also doesn't go out. Jared always goes out, but everyone makes fun of what he does instead of like trying to figure. It's hard to crack his nut a little bit, and then I'm going through something, and so like let's mine that for content.
yeah, but I feel as though sometimes when there are difficult things that you're trying to work through, or any of us, you try to work through them, and then they are exploited for the sake of the show,
Yeah.
and then other people make nasty comments, and then like using it in the show is one thing, as you said, but then when other people use it, and then they're kind of poking at you with it, it's like, hey, come on, you're not even right about it. It's one thing if you're right
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
poking. It's like, okay, fine. What am I going to do? You're saying the truth. But it's like
Hmm.
you have a gross misunderstanding of the situation as a whole, and now you're using this because you have this little piece of information, and there are some times it can be difficult. Um,
I think what I've learned though is because when it comes to my relationships, when it like personal and even like professional relationships, and then to have this sort of blurred lines relationship with Eric, who's our longtime friend and now work person that we work with, colleague. um I do feel like sometimes I want to share stuff with him and be open with him, and I have to remember like, ooh, I can't, because it might it'll be one of those things that he brings up on air and says he can't talk about it, but then it will be talked about. So, and like I said, I want to keep reminding anybody listening, like I understand why he's doing it, and because I have been there and I felt the same way.
you don't have to make
um
excuses.
well, I just want to say like I understand it. I would hate for, just let's say Eric decided to listen to this one and he felt like we were criticize. And it's not that. It's just I know
I
that
don't think
I
there
have.
was any criticism towards him, so don't worry about it too much.
I know, but you know how he feels, like very criticized.
He's the
pretty
sensitive
easily.
one. That is the
He
truth.
really is.
Calling
Bless
me the
him.
sensitive one the other day when I wrote that comment in the text. You're a nasty piece of shit. That's what I mean, I was, to set this one up for anyone who doesn't know what's going on, I was listening to the show the other day, the podcast of the show, and when it came to light that I registered that domain, and, I thought about writing, and it said that he made the comment, Eric made a comment that I probably wouldn't because of some, opioid fueled distraction. It bothered me because that's one of those things. Like, yes, I presented this, and we can joke about it to an extent. That's the way that I can process things. Also, sometimes you take something that's a bit difficult in your life, and you can joke about it, and that's a way to move through it. But that's one of those things. Throwing that out there just haphazardly, it's like, hey, come on. That sets it up so. At this point, I think it bothers me because at some point it was a distraction and it did keep me from doing things and progressing.
Right. It hit a nerve.
And now to throw that out there and have other people just take that little piece of information and then they feel the right to use it and make fun. It's like, no, that's not your place to do that. And
right. I like to continue the joke. Like, yeah, I probably opioids, drugs.
Yeah. So it's like, no, you're not allowed to use that one. So, it bothered me. But then writing that text, I was harsh on purpose because I felt as though it didn't warrant me completely going off to the side and writing Eric some things like, hey, that really hurt my feelings, because it wasn't that extreme. But
is that passive aggressive then?
What, me writing you're a nasty piece of shit?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I just thought I'm gonna write a very harsh thing and not mean it.
Yeah, it's hard to know though.
Even though it hurt his feelings.
I know.
Which I understand if I were to write that in a public forum where the rest of the show sees it and it undermines his power. And then Jared thinks, oh, he's weak. There's a mutiny. Now I can move in and steal the time slot. That's
A mutiny.
I'm going to get in there. But writing that, saying you're a nasty piece of shit. But I thought people would read it in my voice like, you're a nasty piece of shit.
Yeah,
Something.
it's hard to know that you gotta put like a winky smiley face.
No.
Kissy.
I refuse to use emojis. I refuse.
I know, but you have to understand how it's expressed. Like I said, I didn't know what it meant, and so I just left it.
It is a strange. I know it made you uncomfortable.
I just
I feel like
not
most
touching
people,
that.
Most people left it, except for Tim Andrews.
because Greg, like even though, Eric can be sensitive, sometimes you can be reactive, and so it's unclear sometimes. What you if I wasn't clear that was a joke.
Yeah, the lines are blurred. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not trying
So
to.
it makes sense that he would say that, but he needs to reach out instead of then reacting back, right? He's like, "What's up, Greg? What are you doing?" And then you're like, "Oh, I was just this," instead of like,
Nah, he wants us to bow down. He wants us to bow down. Oh, you never speak to me in such a manner.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Or you're fired.
Yeah, the show's interesting in the sense. I know we spent a lot of time talking about this without officially starting.
Well, this is our show. We're not. We started.
No. We're going to start it, and we're going to move into your foraging. You running
I know,
around.
but we can't do a whole hour now.
Did you have an hour of foraging?
Yeah, I could, but
Well, we'll
we've
move-
already. How long has this been?
We'll move into it. This has been like 20-something minutes. I don't know what I'm going to
No,
cut
this
out
is
at the
the
very
show.
beginning. This is not going to be the
No.
whole show because I don't
Yes,
have.
it is.
I don't have another 40 minutes of this in me. I don't think there's another 40 minutes of this, so we're going to get into your foraging at some point.
Okay.
I mean, if this carries through, then great, but I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. I do think it's interesting though that the dynamic has shifted, in that you've taken my old role, which was the one going on constant dates and having them fail or being in relationships that I, spoke about pretty openly on the air. I wasn't so protective of them. Usually talking about how I was fucked up in them and how I was screwing up the
Yeah.
relationship. I wasn't saying nasty things about the other people. Sometimes if they smashed in my back windshield of my car, but usually it was about me. But you've taken that, and I listen to
guess
it.
so.
I listen to it sometimes, and because I'm a pro in the field of online dating, I am. I was there.
I should get some tips.
Well, no, I just hear when other people on the show talk about it, and they're wrong. They're grossly misguided on it. And I wish I could jump in. And it's like, hey, also,
Do you remember?
Did you not learn anything from when I talked about this for years?
Wait, do you mean me or them?
Them.
Oh, what do they say that's misguided?
It's just the ideas of online dating, and it has shifted. The interesting thing with online dating is, at first, I was never the kind of person who would approach people unsolicited. If there was a party and people were talking, I could get a conversation going. But if that was a bar and these are just strangers across the way, I wouldn't walk up to them and start a conversation, just because it feels rude and out of place. It's like, hey, you may be here tonight to have a nice time with your friends, and you don't want some ass coming up and hitting on you. And quite often it's treated like a point of, not quite pride. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's a positive trait. It's like, I'm the kind of person who'll just walk up and bother someone and not give a shit what they're doing with their night, and I will get them.
Well,
and I will win them over.
Because you're gambling whether it's bothering them or if they're looking. And I guess you have to be aware. You have to sniff it out. Read the room to see who wants to be left alone and who wants company.
Yeah, and even then, it's a risk that I wasn't willing to take, and not even for rejection. This was this thing where I was overthinking about how if someone was coming to bother me, how annoyed it would make me. It's like, can't you leave me the fuck alone? Don't just come up here and start talking to me. So I think online dating at first was a nice outlet when it was filled with a bunch of anxious losers. And you could jump on. There was a stigma attached to it for a while. Like, people were embarrassed. They're like, what story are we going to tell people when they ask how we met? Now people are wide open with it. Man, we met on Tinder or Bumble or whatever the hell. No one cares anymore. But there was a time when you came up with a backstory and you would lie and you didn't want to tell people that's where you met or that you were even on any kind of app or site, because this was before the apps too. You weren't on a site. But it was a totally different world then, because it's just become so mainstream. And I'm not saying that dudes who were normally shy weren't assholes online because they felt the protection of anonymity. I don't know if I pronounced that
right?
correctly.
Anonymity?
Anonymity.
Yeah. See an enemy.
An enemy.
See anemone. Anemone.
Anomaly. Anomaly.
Antinomology.
Anyway, but hiding. That word and accompanying are tough for me.
Accompanying?
Anonymity. In quick conversation. Like I tend to. But anyway, I'm not saying that dudes weren't jerks.
What about rural?
Rural.
That's a hard one.
Rural.
Rural.
It's become oversaturated.
Rural.
It's oversaturated. It's now the common way that people do meet. And I think the number of dudes on there that you have to sift through is probably worse than ever, because, like anything, like the artsy neighborhood in any city where the hipsters lived when hipsters were a thing, at some point you get the bros that would come in. It's like, I'm going to go impress these girls with my money and my boldness. And it's the same thing with online dating, I feel. They took over, and now you have to deal with them. I also don't know.
There was that weird sort of moment in dating where it was like that Chris Angel sort of era where they had that dating expert or whatever that would teach the guys to be sort of mean to the girls and do that peacocking thing, like wear a red scarf as a belt.
Yeah, the game.
The point of conversation. Yeah.
The game.
What the fuck are you talking about? Weirdo.
That was the whole thing. There was that group of guys that moved into a house together and perfected that. And that one guy who had the TV show on VH1 with the stupid hats and the dumb garb. What Mystery was his name? Mystery.
Yes.
Yeah. When I first moved to New York,
he always looked like Chris Angel to me.
Yes, it is very similar. When I first moved to New York, I subletted an apartment from one of those guys. I didn't know. At the time.
And he was like a dick, right?
He went by Steve Nash. And I was like, that's a basketball player, right? but whatever. He didn't. That wasn't his real name. I won't share his actual last name, but he went by Steve Nash. He was a dick in the sense that he gave us our deposit back after we were moving out, and then demanded that we give the deposit back to him because we left the apartment in some kind of poor shape where the next tenant didn't want to move in, so he was going to lose money, and he was panicking, and he said, I've been dealing with my dad dying, and you took advantage of that. And it's like, hey, look, dude, your fucking fiance or whoever the hell she is came over and looked at the apartment and said, it's fine, here's your money back. So I don't feel bad. And he was sending certified mail to me, and I was giving him fake addresses and giving him the runaround. At some point I gave him the old address for 99X, and they called me and like, we got some certified mail. It's like, send it back. I don't know what he was trying to do, sue me for what, but I was really annoyed moving to New York and getting this kind of treatment from a guy who was from North Carolina. He wasn't even like a New Yorker.
Yeah, what the hell?
Some chooch from North Carolina is like, no. If I'm moving to New York and getting fucked over, it's going to be from at least a New Yorker, not you, playa.
Don't hate the playa, hate the game.
And I do hate
Say
your
something
game.
like
Your game is stupid. Your game of picking up women, the pickup artist.
Yes, the pickup.
But anyway, I found out that in New York, if you're subletting, you can't charge for more than you pay for your apartment. That way people don't collect.
Right.
They don't collect apartments at low rents and rent them and make money that way. And you can sue for 3 times the amount that someone overcharged you. And this information's all public. And I found the information and found that he was charging us, $800 more a month. He was allowed to charge us 10% more because it was furnished. But I copied his language in one of his letters and just changed some of the numbers and threatened to sue him, and he disappeared.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's pretty smart.
So I beat you. I beat the game, the pickup artist.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, that was a whole weird thing. Tell her she's fucking ugly. Hey, bitch, you stink. You're the ugliest piece of trash I've ever seen.
Oh, that top would look better if you lost a couple pounds.
Yeah, and then watch her come crawling to you. Yeah. What a fucked up, gross thing. But a lot of people bought into that.
Yeah, they did.
But anyway, you stole my identity on the show.
I guess I did, just by living my life. I think that really what this is I'm just doing all of these weird, messy things 20 years late.
It is, yes. You're 40 and you live in the suburbs, so it's a totally different game. Anyway, yeah. I assume most of the dudes that you're dealing with are divorced. Is that incorrect?
Only one so far.
So they're just weirdos who didn't get married?
Yeah.
And they live in the suburbs? That's a red flag.
Some of them live, this one person lives really far away, lives in, on the border of Maryland and Pennsylvania. Sorry, I always get confused where Pennsylvania is. I worry that it's south and not north. And even saying it right now, I'm worried that I'm wrong. It's north.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. He lives really far away. But and then other people have lived in Baltimore, I don't know, Annapolis, which isn't that far. So nobody from Crofton yet.
Yeah, I guess that, when you're on online dating in the city, you set it to 10 miles at most, 5 to 10 miles.
Yeah, I put it 15 miles, I think.
Yeah, I feel like you have to do that, though, because everyone's more spread out.
Mm-hmm.
I said red flag as a 40-year-old, almost 40-year-old, who's never been married. Me. I'm talking about me.
I thought you were talking about me. Sorry.
Living in the city, it's a different thing. It doesn't feel as creepy, but it's like, I don't know, that guy's just lived in the suburbs his whole life, and he's never... It's like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with him. But
yeah.
when you're in the city and you're not married, it's not a big deal. No one thinks anything of it.
Right.
I don't know if that's a fair, assessment to make, but that is the way it goes.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if there is a different set of rules. That's true. But yeah, do you have any advice for me to online date?
I have no advice. I don't know the other side of it.
Yeah.
I just know that dudes mess the whole thing up, and as a guy, you have to try to present yourself. See, the whole thing is you've got the aggressive guys online who just come right at you, and then they get angry if you don't respond, and they insult you. And you want to talk about entitled behavior. From what I hear, there are stories of dudes who a woman starts a conversation with them and it trails off, and then they just lose their shit and they start hurling insults.
I've only had a little bit of that where I was just barely talking to this person. We had switched over off the app to actual like texting, and it was like a 2.5 hour break between responding to his texts because I was putting the kids to bed. And then when I went back to check my phone, he had texted me a couple times, and then he was like, well, see you later. Like unmatched me, I don't think he blocked me, but he was just like, see ya. I was like, damn, was this just because I didn't answer for a couple hours?
Yeah, but that's a good thing to know. You don't want to deal with that person.
Yeah, I was just surprised. I was like, oh.
It is surprising that there's such impatience.
Yeah.
That you don't respond in a timely manner. It's like, see ya. And then that's the end of it. I don't know what they want.
I know, I don't hide that I have kids.
But that's not so bad. I mean, it's...
Yeah, no one's been really shitty yet. So that's been nice.
So apparently that happens. Like, you bruise the guy's ego, and then he gets insulting and entitled. A whole set of guys who try to counter those aggressive guys by coming off as overly thoughtful and sensitive, but that isn't authentic. It's a game that they're playing just to try to win you over. And so it became a real minefield for me. It's like, I don't know how to navigate any of this right now, because I would try to be thoughtful and present myself as I am. I guess, there was a whole point where I tried to present myself the flaws too. That never worked out well. I wasn't getting much engagement at that point. But I mean, it's not, I forget what they were listed exactly as. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was things like, sometimes I like to sit at home and do nothing. Oh, the horror, because everyone's always got to present themselves as being these overly active people who are constantly on the go and so social. It's like, shut the fuck up.
So many dudes have pictures of themselves like hiking or on a mountain or with a dog. Everybody's got a dog or they're outdoors. And so one of the things I put on my profile was like, I'm not going to hike with you. Don't take me on a hike. I don't want to hike.
Yeah.
I'll walk somewhere.
I put fuck camping once. And
fuck camping, dude.
When I would list things like that went against the grain, it didn't work so well. So instead No. I mean, I guess there's always a few people here and there, but for the most part, that seems to be...
because you put stuff like, you put that thing about pens, right?
Nah, that was a whole different thing. That was a funny thing. Some woman said that she liked pens, and I said, so do I. I posed them in different dioramas or something, and I made a little bed for my pen, and I put it in there. Like, I did these weird things, and I sent these pictures that I thought were funny, and it got no response. Yeah. Whatever. She missed out.
She did. She sure did.
But, putting things like, I don't like to go out constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So I just took that out. I didn't lie about who I was. So then you just put certain things. And who knows? It's half the time you don't get a response, which as a woman, I am sure you could swipe right on anyone and it would be a match.
You'd be surprised.
Well, that's a shame then. I'm sure that the percentage is still much higher. And so you've got a lot more choices. And when people are given more choices, it's never really a good thing. Less choices, the better. Because
I agree. That's the Trader Joe's model.
What, less choices, the better?
Yeah, less choices. It's the Aldi model. Give them less choices. People don't thrive as well when there's too many choices. It's, you get like paralyzed by decisions.
Yeah, and then you second guess once you do make a decision. Like, should I have gone with something else? It's not actually a good thing. And that's another problem with online dating. It's like there's always this idea that it's so easy just to go find someone else. It's like, well, this is...
Oh my God. Yeah, that's the thing that happens on the other show where it's like, just go find somebody to fill in the blank. Like whatever I might be feeling. If I'm lonely, it's like, go find a boyfriend you could... Or if I'm like wanting something else, like go find a date, just do it. It's like, it's not that easy. And then, so I watched this TikTok that I thought explained it well, where it was like, hey, other women or other people who are not on dating apps, what's the plan? I was like, that's a great point. If I kind of dislike these dating apps, not kind of, I really don't like them, but I feel like it's my only option because what else can I do? I don't, I feel going to a bar feels weird. Feels like both weird, like desperate, um, because I'm going there like hoping someone will talk to me, or I guess, or that I'll have to talk to them, or I don't want to meet a stranger. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be someone that I meet and we get along because it's like mutual friends, and then whatever. I
You
don't
may
like
need
this
to
like
upgrade.
stranger stuff.
If you want to stick to the online dating, and I know that it was a joke when we were younger, but one of the paid ones at this point.
I tried eHarmony. I'm still fucking paying for it. It's a piece of shit.
No, get off of that one because that one's rooted in Christianity.
Not anymore.
Well, they say that, but I think it's still there. I once took the quiz for that. It's like, let's match you. It's 0 matches. We don't have anyone for you, which I don't.
It's not like that anymore, but it is bullshit. I canceled my thing and I'm still paying for it for like months.
Call your credit card company.
I should. But I think I agreed to like the terms,
What are the terms? The terms are you can cancel whenever the hell you want, unless you did a year.
No, I did it like a certain months or something because it was like the only thing they had available, and I was feeling desperate, I guess. This whole thing is horrible. I fucking hate it, dude.
I feel like Match.com would be a better one. I know it's horrible. I worry. You're just out there alone. I also don't think that you need someone. You just want someone to hang out with. That's a different, which, if you want to date them and hang out with them. But as far as
But when you start dating someone, they expect like, hey, next time we see each other, let's make out.
Sure.
It's like, oh, okay.
I understand.
I don't know if
that.
I really want that.
Well, you don't have to do that.
But it's like, keep taking me out. And that's the thing too, is I know this sounds conceited, but I will get along with you. Like we will get along. We're going to have an okay time, and you're going to think that means I like you. And it might just mean you seem like a cool dude, and that's it. And I don't think that anybody is going to just want to keep hanging out with me without something else later.
Look for a profile that says recently divorced, completely crushed. Don't even want to be on here. Because
because there's a friend of a friend who every time I see him, he mentions some like weird dig about his ex-wife. If you say like, oh, it's warm today, like, oh yeah, it is warm. Cheryl always hated the warm weather. That bitch, like, yeah.
He's one of those
for years.
One of those people can't get over it. Well, I feel as though there's someone who's over it enough. They're just not ready to actually be open, and like going to Six Flags would be a fun thing for them. They don't want to be emotionally open, so just kind of running around having some fun times.
I don't know though, because I would like that. This is the thing. Maybe I don't know exactly what I want/need from another person. I really am getting to know who I am alone. And it was something I, was trying to figure out. And it was something really painful, and like, it made me want to like crawl out of my skin. I didn't know what to do. I felt sad. And then I felt sad that I was sad. And then I was like, I don't know, all kinds of things. And I've kind of come through that a little bit. And I am getting okay with being by myself. And I think that's sort of the first level. I need to get through level 2, which is like finding out what I actually want out of someone.
Not even out of someone. I think learning to exist by yourself and the things that you want out of that is what you have to do before you even enter a relationship. Your identity has always been in a relationship. I know that I've always been in relationships, but the relationship was never my identity. My identity was still, hey, he likes hanging out alone. And that's the completely opposite problem. But both you and I were always in relationships. We just,
Yeah.
I feel as though your identity was wrapped up in that, and mine was a
How
constant
could it
battle.
not be?
Yeah, mine was a constant battle to keep it preserved and separate from the relationship and not fall into the kind of relationship that you were in.
Right.
And neither, again, I don't want to say neither is right or wrong. The identity in the relationship, it's still my identity, but it's also learning, it's learning to preserve that and be with a person who's comfortable with that and is allowed to have their own identity too. That's what I prefer. Some people may want the melding. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. I don't know who it really works for.
That's true. Hold on. Sorry to cough. Yeah, because when in a relationship, when the other person is upset, I have a really hard time separating out of that. You know, I'm responsible for them, whether it's the reason why they're upset. I feel like I want to help them not be upset. And if they don't let me, then I'm annoyed and I feel like it's like, all right, well then fuck you. I get a little mad. You know what I mean? It's weird. So I kind of stopped developing that part of my self because I was always in a relationship. I never got to know who I was by myself.
Yeah, and figuring that out is a good thing. And then you take that, and then when you enter the next relationship, you're not dependent on it for your identity. Like, this is who I am. Does this work?
Yeah.
Do we work together on that front? Yes. Okay, great. No? Oh, okay. See ya.
And I know that, you know, I know it. I'm sorry, I don't now, but like in those moments, because I'll have done this work, that it'll be like, oh, I will know it's going to work or not.
Except you're, as you said, 20 years too late. Mm-hmm. Not too late. You're just 20 years later. Let's phrase it that way. Which is funny that we're the same age and we don't speak of me taking the same amount of time to figure it out as being a bad thing.
Yeah, it's just reversed.
Yeah, I just don't have. I guess there's a fear on my end thinking about you and, you know, caring about you. Is I'm not saying there aren't people in the suburbs, but it does work differently. More people are settled down, and I don't know. It seems like the kind of people who are available are probably people who are recently out of marriages and probably have kids. But it seems like you're not coming across too many, so I have nothing to base that on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really coming across that much.
Or if you come across a person who's doesn't have kids and is still single, they don't necessarily want to date a person with kids.
Could be. Yeah. I think once I mentioned that I had kids in one of the correspondence through the app, and then when I went back to look and see if they had texted back,
they were gone.
They were gone because they unmatched me, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough.
It was fine. Yeah. I wasn't offended. I was like, oh, the same thing with that other guy. Like, oh, all right. Okay. I do feel though, like, I mean, honestly, sexually, I'm not okay with just being alone.
But when you bring that up, what do you mean?
It means that I'm on Tinder. Like for hooking up.
Is that what you're on there for?
Yeah.
Right.
If I'm honest, yes,
then
absolutely.
Talk to my friend Matt. He knows how to navigate that whole world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's had several. I just gave his last name. Oh, well.
Maybe you should edit that.
He can't find him on social media.
Oh, you can't?
No.
I'll bleep it, though, just for him.
All right, I'll bleep it for him. I don't know when that was around.
Whoops.
I'll just cut it out. I don't want to bleep. Whatever. I'll cut it out.
Okay. That'll be funny with the bleep.
Yeah, but the bleeping's a whole process. I got to find the beep. I don't know if I have a beep on my computer.
Oh, you do, because you've used it before.
The bleep. But anyway, yeah, he moved to Philadelphia and didn't know people and was just looking for that. And there's codes and terminology.
Oh, yeah, I'm Googling all kinds of codes. People are writing things like, what does that mean? What's NDT? I don't know what that means. Just, random letters.
But that's a hard thing to navigate also, because either you get a person who thinks that they want that and then they don't, or you get a person who's like so into it and you find yourself like, I don't know, this isn't really working for me because it's just very transactional and somewhat robotic.
Again, I really do feel like so I went out last week and it was like I went out late, not late, but like 8 o'clock or something. And I went to a lesbian bar because I wanted to go to a lesbian bar. And then it also felt so good to not feel like weird about being there, you know? Because when I mean, it was illustrated on the other show because I went to a bar once and was like harassed. And it was like, well, then why are you at a bar by yourself? It's like, no, I'm allowed to just go to a bar. So I went there. It was so nice. And then I stumbled upon this like drag show that they were having and I had a blast. It was so much fun. It was like exactly my scene as far as like the drag stuff goes. And I felt so comfortable. And I made a friend and we talked about like what she does. And it was not like sexual at all. It was just like, yay! Like I can actually just talk to someone and it not feel like something's gotta happen because I'm talking and we're getting along.
Where was
Anyway,
this? Where was this bar?
it was in DC. It's the only lesbian bar in Maryland, which
Yeah.
isn't even Maryland because it's in
I
DC.
was going to say that's not Maryland. What? That's the only one?
Yes.
Why? That
I
seems
don't
strange.
know.
That's not real. That's
Everything
not
else
real.
is a gay bar. Everything else is a gay bar, which is more, geared toward men.
Interesting. We
I
went all the
know,
way to
isn't that
DC.
crazy?
Did you drive to DC?
I did.
No, you should have taken the train.
No, I'm not taking the train.
Why? Because if
It did cost me $20 to park though, which blew. Anyway, the point is that I did this thing, and also I'm on Tinder just for hookups, which I feel weird about it, but I also feel like, listen, I I'm I'm doing some things that I have felt before and felt like that's not something I can outwardly express. Like going out by myself, in the middle of the week, or like even if something had happened at that bar, like if a woman had like sort of approached me and like something, whatever, I would go for it because I feel like there are things that I've never been able to, I've separated out, from who I am in my head and then who I am outwardly. And sometimes I'm not sure where that line, I don't feel like that line is as clear and I need to figure it out. And so I'm trying to figure it out. Again, this is like 20 years ago type behavior for women to do. But
I feel
I'm
like
doing
some
it
of
now.
it is probably you do know, and it's just hard for you to admit. Whatever that is, that's not implying anything specific.
Well, I'm not saying everything on this. Again, some things are private.
Okay.
Some things. But it's just, I don't know. It's just a weird, and maybe weird's not the right answer. It's a place I didn't think that I'd be in. And it's not like it's not like that's only sad to feel that way. It sounds a little sad.
Maybe it's a
But-
place you want to be in. Ultimately.
No, I still feel like I'm in a transition.
Okay. Well, if you find yourself in a spot what some people would call an alternative lifestyle, then who fucking cares? You've tried the traditional thing, it doesn't work for you.
It doesn't.
That's fine.
Yeah.
How's that feel to admit that? I don't feel like you've ever admitted that.
Well, I've just been dealing with it in therapy actually. And it was cool. And she kind of said similar stuff.
I mean,
It's not alternative. Like I don't know. I don't know what that means.
okay.
Alternative.
Well, I mean, you've got your very basic what you're supposed to do type of thing, which is you find
Yeah.
someone, you marry them, you have kids, you settle down.
Or you date someone, the guy's nice, and you just go for it. And I'm not doing that either.
Yeah.
Just because the guy's nice.
So there are things that are, presented as this the way things go. And even for me, who's not so out there by any means, it's like just following that path that's laid out and like this is the way you're supposed to do it. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It never worked for me. But admitting that it was a difficult thing, saying, I don't want it to play out that way. I don't need it to play out that way. I've always had this desire to find someone where there's an understanding and I can share things with them, the things that I like to take in when I'm alone, and to have someone where there's this nice stability and a foundation of, yeah, we're fucking together. We're together. I don't care. They have their own life. They go do their own thing. Obviously, there's some boundaries within that, which is mostly not having sex with other people, which if you wanted to have that also as one of the things that's allowed, that's fine. That's not something I can navigate in, being in an open relationship. But for the most part, like my ideal relationship is just have your life. I have my life. And, we do
separate
things.
but together.
Yeah, we do our things together, but there's not all this weird insecurity and all the bullshit minutia that surrounds it. It's like, but it's supposed to be this way, and you're going out and doing that, and I don't care. That's what I would prefer. I think you get the best out of the other person when you're allowing them to be who they are, and then you get to be who you are. And this is the part where it matches. Like, if the other person's someone who can have a deep love for you, but also wants to go around and have sex with a lot of people, that's fair, but that doesn't work for me. So, that's where the matching.
And you only know that because you've done, I guess, like, I wouldn't call it soul searching, but you've figured out who you are. So you're able to say, this is what I want. This is what I need. Can you do those things for me?
Yeah. And it was just,
this is what I can do. This is what I can do for you. These are okay for me.
And I was never able to, when I had an inability to accept the way I was going about things. I was also not able to fake things. So I didn't find myself settled in some marriage or like in a relationship, because the relationships will always fall apart because I couldn't just say, okay, well, I don't know. I'm not admitting this thing about myself, but I'm also able to just say, yeah, I'll stay in this relationship with you. It just didn't. I was lucky, I guess it didn't work that way.
Yeah.
And, getting back to you, though, it's like, yes, whatever the hell it is, fine. I mean, I guess it's harder to navigate because you do have a marriage and kids, or a past marriage, and you have kids. But, whatever it is, hopefully you can get to the point where you figure out what it is and then you're accepting of it.
Yeah, I think I can be. I think that's something in the distance. I don't know what that looks like exactly. And that's why I think it makes me uncomfortable even to for you to say alternative lifestyle.
Well, that's what I wasn't claiming that's what you were doing. I was just saying if it's so.
No, but I feel like maybe that could be something in my future. I don't know, but what I don't want to do is just accept what maybe feels like the norm, just because it's the way.
Well,
I'm not, because
there.
I've done it, and I'm not interested in that. And breaking out of that can feel, I don't know, like a little scary. It can feel like I want to make sure that I'm doing it out of like a genuine reason, because I feel like I've, I don't want to do something that's like dangerous. This is way too vague to be talking about. I don't have a good grasp on it.
All right,
yet.
That's fine. You can leave it at that. But I mean, I think going back to me asking you early on when people say, I don't know why she left. It was nice. It was a good marriage. It's like, yeah, maybe all that's true. But it sounds like it's not something that worked for you. It's not really something you wanted necessarily. It's not wrong to say that. And it wasn't
because he and I love him. I'm so glad that he's the father of my kids. Like, holy shit, I'm so glad, because I could have gotten a real dickhead.
Well, I don't know if you would have settled with a dickhead, but I hear what you're saying.
No, but you never know. When people get hurt,
you're saying after the fact.
After the fact, yeah.
Yeah. Sure, I guess you don't know that, but
the way he's handled everything since then, and the way that we, are navigating it, feels really good, really open. But anyway, I'm really grateful for that. But I don't know. I just want to. I gotta date myself.
It is very.
Like when you said I don't want to like I want to go see a sunset by myself. That's an example of that I think about where I think it didn't even happen to me if I'm not with someone else. It's like meaningless. Instead of me being able to just take something in and appreciate it. My friend Nico said he was sad, or I was thinking he was sad because no one would hang out with him. He's like, is anyone hanging out tonight? And all of us were busy. And then I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, poor Nico. I sent a sad emoji or whatever. And he was like, no, it's fine. I like being by myself. It's like, what?
He's like, I don't give a shit.
That's what I mean. And that's the kind of thing that shows me that, maybe my thinking is a little flawed that way.
I mean, when I told you that I went to Kingston alone, you still couldn't, it still seemed to shock you, even though you know who I am. It's like, why would you go to stay at a place for several nights in a hotel alone? It's like, why not?
Yeah.
I've traveled a lot alone. I enjoy traveling alone. I still would like to travel alone. I would like to have a mix where it's like, I travel with Christina and I travel alone and everyone's happy. Because traveling alone doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the company of Christina at all. It doesn't mean that. It just means that I also like doing things alone. So having a balance of the two is important. It's still a weird thing for me to express. It feels strange to say, hey, I want to go do this alone, because it does make me think, does that hurt the other person's feelings?
I want to do it alone,
Yeah, it's like, I don't want you there. It's like,
right.
it's not that harsh by any means. I mean? It's not that harsh, but it could feel like that. And especially when I was dating really anxious people, like that was a bad fit for me, because asking for such things would make them feel that way. Like, why wouldn't you want to go with me? What's wrong with me? It's like, nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Like, these are separate things.
What if they said, can I please go with you? I really want to.
I'd say no. Well, I'd say I never got to this point because I was never good at expressing it, because I knew it would hurt them and I would just avoid it. So then that's where I got restless quite often in relationships, is because I wasn't expressing these things that I needed and wanted out of it, because I was dating people who didn't want and need those same things. Like, I was just making the wrong choices.
Yeah.
But I always liked anxious people because I understood them and they needed patience and understanding, and I could give that to them.
So, I mean, but I really think it's about balance. You were out of balance in those relationships.
Yeah, because
and you've struck a balance within yourself, and therefore you can balance more easily with someone else and what they need and what you need and all that. Whereas I feel like I was out of balance.
Or you just need to know what you want and need.
Right. I need to know where I stand.
That's your first thing.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to do that.
And if that's dating a drag queen, then so be it.
Yeah. Dream come true.
I do feel like that would be a dream come true for you. You could at least.
There was one performer that I swear was a woman.
I think that happens sometimes, right?
Yeah, I guess.
It's not drag at that point.
I think it is.
If it's a woman dressing as a woman?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's drag.
If you're a drag king, then you're a woman dressing as a man.
Yes.
But I think you can still be a drag queen. I don't know.
Anyway, we talking about your foraging? Let's start the show.
Yeah. Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher.
My name is Greg Russ, and that's it. So thanks for listening.
Yep. Like and subscribe, rate and review. Use our code OneTopic15 for some really great hot sauce from hopandpepper.com. Do it.